Well, good evening, America. It is 7 p.m. Tuesday, October 20th, and this is Queer News Tonight, the world's first live LGBTQ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news.
Watch as we bring you these stories and other stories from the LGBTQ headlines. Conservatives outraged that Joe Biden promised to, quote, flat out change anti-transgender laws.
New Zealand elections may prove they are the gayest country on planet Earth.
Tiffany Trump hosts Trump Pride in Tampa. No, we're not joking. So good evening, America. It is 7 p.m. Tuesday, October 20th, 2020, and it is time to queer up the news. We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight. The world's first live daily queer evening news show, Out of the Closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight. Well, thank you for joining us, America. This is Queer News Tonight. We are live. This is an unedited LGBTQ evening news show, so anything can happen. This evening, we bring you the news of and a perspective from the LGBTQ community. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and these are my co-anchors, Gordon Woodworth III and Dr. Ty Hauser.
It's nice to be here with you, Gordon.
Yes, the third and Doctor, Professor.
Professor Doctor.
Yes, exactly. And I'm just Al. Let's queer up the news. Tonight we begin with queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in America is diverse, while the LGBTQ community around the world is vast. And we're going to bring you the bullet points of queer news for today, Tuesday of October of 2020. We begin by queering up the USA. Pete Buttigieg is back on Fox destroying Trump and conservatives. Watch this.
We need a perspective right now that will finally allow us to leave the politics of the past in the past, turn the page, and bring change to Washington before it's too late.
You talk about the politics of the past. You sound like President Trump there.
Well, what I know is we definitely need to turn the page even more now than when I was running for president a year ago. And what we need to turn the page from is a president who is incapable of handling a public health crisis that has now cost almost 250,000 American lives, thrown our economy into a total wreckage, and has clearly no plan to do anything about it. So, yeah, let's turn the page. And we have a very clear choice between two very different futures for this country.
Wow. Former Mayor Pete Buttigieg has fashioned himself into an invaluable tool for Joe Biden's go at the presidential nomination. In a few short weeks, he has become the spokesperson of choice, dispatched to enter the conservative lion's den known as Fox News, to do some heavy lifting for the campaign. In the wake of his advocacy for the LGBTQ community, he has seemingly left an entire network thunderstruck whenever he appears on the air, including the usually pithy Chris Wallace this past Sunday.
Well, oh snap, Pete Buttigieg, or as he would say, oh snap.
I was driving around Fort Lauderdale the other day, and I saw lots of people still had their I'm with Pete signs out in their yards, and I love it because putting Pete out there as a spokesperson is really signaling to the community that Biden is going to make some changes that we need to have.
You know, everyone in the LGBTQ community knows image is everything, and you commit to the image over and over and over again, and then people begin to believe it. When you put gay Mayor Pete on Fox News consistently, you're telling the entire world something. It's going to resonate, and it's pissing off a whole cadre of people in the red right. Yay.
Next in Queer Up the World, New Zealand elections may prove they are the gayest country on planet Earth. New Zealand is taking the lead as the gayest country on planet Earth. When Jacinda Ardern won re-election, she ushered in a historic wave of a rainbow wave. In the election, swept in 4 new gay parliament members, bringing the total to an astounding 9%. Proportionally, this makes New Zealand's National Assembly the gayest in the world. The Parliament is proud of the accomplishment for the LGBTQ visibility, and they have taken to social media to celebrate the win.
This is fantastic news. I'm so pleased for you, New Zealand, and Dr. Al, did you hear that? Dr. Arden, who is able to make this coalition happen and celebrate all the diversity that is New Zealand.
You know, interesting to me, if the United States was comparable, think about the accomplishment in New Zealand. We were just talking about the accomplishment of Mayor Pete and what he did in running for election and his representation on Fox News. This achievement would be roughly equivalent to 35 House of Representative members that were LGBT, or 9 U.S. senators. It's an astounding achievement, and this was an overwhelming landslide for the Labour Party in New Zealand, which represents the LGBTQ community. Congratulations, New Zealand.
I really hope that one day gay people will be counted on our census here in the United States so that we can have numbers the way New Zealand has, so we can actually talk about this, and over time more people will come out and our community will be even more visible than it is today.
Yeah.
Great point. We will we'll continue querying up entertainment. Hallmark's first LGBTQ movie, Christmas House, set to debut this year. As Halloween approaches, Hallmark gears up for the annual Christmas countdown. On October 24th, they will begin the festivities with Jingle Bell Bride, a true classic, and continue for 2 months with heartwarming winter spectacles. This year's programming features The Christmas House, a film featuring Mean Girls' Jonathan Bennett, which is centered around an LGBTQ couple looking to adopt their first child. This latest addition to the holiday Hallmark lineup will join Lifetime's The Christmas Setup as 2 of cable television's first LGBTQ Christmas specials.
Next, let's queer up Vote 2020. Tiffany Trump hosts Tampa Trump Pride in Tampa, Florida. And we're not kidding. Florida's LGBTQ population could very well be the deciding factor in this year's election because it could decide Florida, and Florida could decide for the nation. And Tiffany Trump knows it. This weekend, she was in Tampa, Florida in a desperate and last-minute grab for the queer vote. The Trump Pride event was hosted by Tiffany and the openly gay former National Intelligence Director, Richard Grenell. While the president's relationship with the LGBTQ community has been fraught with controversy and confusion, the event organizers emphasized Trump's quote-unquote proven track record as a quote strong advocate for the LGBTQ community both at home and abroad.
Next in Queer Up the World, thousands of cops stripped down for Egypt's super anti-gay president in a bizarre, totally not gay parade.
Oh, this is
2020 is finally delivering on the eye candy we all deserve. In a deeply homoerotic graduation ceremony, thousands of shirtless hotties from the Egyptian Police Academy paraded around to celebrate. Something important and official, I'm sure. I'll admit the details are lost on me as I'm a little distracted.
I love how erect they're standing.
Oh. You know what makes this story great? And we decided right before we went on the air tonight, we weren't really going to comment on this story, and then we watched this video and we all decided collectively, oh yes we are. One of the things that is really wonderful about this is it is so incredibly silly. This police academy graduation, if this happened in Wilton Manors, the gayest place on planet Earth, everybody would go, yeah, so it's gay. In this instance, this is Egypt, where they have a president that is significantly homophobic. Apparently, they didn't read the memo.
Just keep watching the video and imagine you hearing.
I hope this entire segment gets watched in Cairo tomorrow. I really, really do.
I hope so too. Now we're going to queer up gay culture. There is no LGBTQ story here. There's not a story. We just like shirtless men eating papaya. Game of Bros is a New Zealand reality television show where several Pacific Island men compete for the attention of two women comedians, and it is our favorite video of the day.
Yeah, as we continue to watch, again, this is one that we weren't scheduled to comment on, but I have to make the connection that we just reported that New Zealand has the gayest parliament in the world, and this is what they watch on television.
I think I've seen this video before in the bathhouse somewhere.
I'm moving to New Zealand.
We're kind of silly today, I think. All right, let's continue by querying up Vote 2020. Conservatives are outraged that Joe Biden promised to, quote, flat out change anti-transgender laws. An anti-LGBTQ hate group has expressed outrage today that presidential hopeful Joe Biden supports transgender rights. In an ABC News town hall event, Biden promised the mother of a transgender child that he would, quote, eliminate the executive orders that negatively impact and harm the trans community. The hate group, of course, Family Research Council, took this out of context and responded that Joe Biden encourages, quote, gender transitions for 8-year-old children, end quote. They called Biden's promise of equality an embracement of body-denying propaganda. They continue. Next, let's catch up on all the news surrounding COVID-19 with our quarantine quickies. There is a lot to discuss during this pandemic, so let's get it underway. First up in quarantine quickies, Trump attacks Dr. Fauci, the press, and the polls. Watch this.
Dr. Fauci's a very nice man, but we let him do what he wants to do. He gets a lot of television. He loves being on television, and we let him do it. Sometimes he says things that are a little bit off, and they get built up, unfortunately, but he's a nice guy. I like him, but he's called a lot of bad calls. He said, don't wear a mask, and he said, don't ban China. There were bad calls. He admits that, and I don't hold that against him. If I did, I wouldn't have him. I don't want to hurt him. He's been there for about 350 years. I don't want to hurt him.
Well, first off, both of those statements are incorrect. Just 2 weeks before Election Day, President Trump delivered an angry rant against everything that is annoying him today. Apparently, that list isn't long, but it is comprehensive, as he verbally attacked and complained about Dr. Fauci, the press, and the latest polls, especially due to the poll results, which show Trump is trailing Biden by a considerable margin now. He is facing pressure to make a quick recovery in the last few days before the November 3rd election. His inconsistent messaging, the continued impact of COVID-19, and his disdain for respected experts like Anthony Fauci could undermine his efforts and drive away potential voters.
I just thought it was funny that he said Dr. Fauci wanted all this airtime because I'm a little bit familiar with Dr. Fauci's career, and I guarantee you this is the last thing he wants to be doing is dealing with Trump and this White House. He's the most trusted expert in this country for a reason.
And if anyone's competing for airtime, it's Trump. Because did you see how long it took him to say absolutely nothing? He just wants to be on TV.
Exactly. And as it relates to Dr. Fauci, he is the most trusted infectious disease doctor, certainly in America and perhaps in the entire world. He is the leadership of the HIV and AIDS pandemic, and he has tried to be the leadership in COVID-19, dealing with one of the most ignorant presidents against science and medicine in history. Don't tell us over and over again you like Fauci and then try to demonstrate and demoralize him by saying everything he did was wrong. You did not stop the pandemic from coming from Europe, which has been said 1,000 times. And Fauci said that masks were not required very early in the pandemic before scientific studies started to show that they were important. He changed and said, wear a fucking mask, which we've reported on this show 1,000 times. You're the one that got it wrong. It's incredible.
He's famous for a reason. You can ask pretty much any doctor who Anthony Fauci is, and they know of him, and they knew of him before the pandemic. And there's a reason for that. Next, in Quarantine Quickies, For LGBTQ America, the, quote, darkest part of the pandemic is approaching. Watch this.
We actually have a convergence of factors which really are making for what is, I think, going to be the darkest part of the pandemic over the course of the next 12 weeks. First of all, pandemic fatigue, as was described in this report, is happening. Many people who believe that in April and May that they had to take steps to keep from getting infected and didn't get infected and thought, well, you know, we've kind of dodged this bullet, have now by Labor Day become to the point of where, you know, this I'm done with the virus, even though the virus is not done with them.
As the coronavirus surges across much of the United States, infection rates are particularly high in some less populated western and midwestern states, including Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. The worst may still be to come, though, as the normal flu season is beginning to take hold in the United States, and more people will find themselves crowded indoors as the cold sweeps across the country. The LGBTQ community must be careful in how they socialize for the rest of the calendar year and beyond if there is to be any hope of overcoming this virus.
Well, next this evening, we report that Happening Out Television Network is broadcasting on our permanent set here in partnership with the Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale and Wilton Manors, Florida. We always joke, the gayest place on planet Earth. And Al slowly turns to the left and slowly turns to the right. Of course, our support of their Sunday celebration is the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's live. We encourage you to tune in. Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
From YouTube's Faye What? And Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
We'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living here in Fort Lauderdale, for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible. Well, we're going to end tonight's broadcast with the big finish. These are short story mentions of LGBTQ news or news with our gay perspective. So here we go. First on Queer News tonight's The Big Finish. The Steelworkers Union projects Biden-Harris logo on the side of Chicago's Trump Tower.
You know, you can paint something up and try and make it look as nice as possible, but at the end of the day, shit is still shit.
What I loved is when I first saw this story, it was in my Facebook feed, and right below it was a picture of Joan Baez flipping off the Trump Tower in New York.
You know, it's funny to me. Chicago is one of the bluest cities in America. We have a lesbian mayor of the city of Chicago, and the largest Trump building in the world is in this bluest of blue and LGBT city. What made it perfect was seeing Trump Tower and that sign, and then 3 times larger than Trump Tower was Biden-Harris glowing above it. Absolutely hilarious. In the big finish, Carol Baskin again. Carol Baskin of Tiger King fame comes out as
bisexual.
What do you think, Gordon?
I don't think she killed her husband, but maybe she'll be a lady killer.
Ooh.
I don't know, you know, when you're down and out and when you're weary, my friends, you just come out as bi and all of a sudden you're back in the news.
Yeah, she needs some more attention apparently. Killing somebody wasn't enough. Allegedly. Women, however, beware. Chef Josie, beware. She has this habit of disappearing her lovers. The big finish. The Zoom dick incident interrupted an election simulation.
That wouldn't be the first time a dick is ruining an election, like our current situation.
And as everybody knows, Jeffrey Toobin has been suspended at CNN for allegedly, somebody tell me what that story is about?
I think masturbating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they do on CNN, though.
I'm just glad that no one sees what I'm doing in my Zoom meetings.
I'm glad I'm not seeing what you're doing right now in Q News tonight.
Does Chatterbait use Zoom?
Yeah, right. In the LGBTQ community, this would be celebrated, I think. I suppose Toobin is just hanging out with the wrong crowds. Yeah, that's what it is.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Remember, if it's important to the LGBTQ community, it's important to Queer News Tonight. But you gotta help us out. Click subscribe on YouTube and ring my bell for updates. Be sure to share this news.
Ring your bell. We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. And this is the only source of live LGBTQ news in the world. Your community needs your support.
You are not alone. We will get through this crisis.
And we are here with you. This is Queer News Tonight.
So thank you, America, for joining us. I'm Al Ferguson. And on behalf of Gordon Woodworth III and Dr. Ty Hauser.
Dr. Professor.
Dr. Professor, and I forgot, I'm contractually required to say that. We'll see you daily and tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Good night, America.
Good night.